Welcome to day 2 of unlocking your next level. And today is all about money, honey. I am most excited about today because this was the one area in my life that I had the most work to do to get where I needed to be when it came to making the amount of money that I wanted to be making. And I will tell you right now, your money mindset has absolutely everything to do with how much money you're able to attract into your life. And like we all at some point in our lives will hit a plateau or a wall unless we have dive deep into our belief system and figure out what is blocking us from getting to that next level from a money standpoint. And so really excited to share today about some of the limiting beliefs. I'm going to share my personal story here, and this is going to go deep because there's a lot that I had to work through. It took me years to work through all of my limiting beliefs. I had no idea they went as deep as they did. And so if you're somebody who's just starting out on this money mindset journey, just know you may have a lot more to work through than you ever even imagined, because you only see the surface. You don't see what's below the surface. And so you only see the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, but the iceberg goes so much deeper than you can ever imagine. And that's the exact same thing that happens with money mindset. And so I'm really excited to dive into this today. And, my goal in this entire masterclass is to really help you become the best version of yourself that you can be so you can thrive. It is our birthright to have a thriving, prosperous life. And unfortunately, conditioning keeps us at a certain level. Our beliefs and the things that we have seen from a very young age lock into our subconscious and will keep you at a certain level unless you never dig deep, root them out, and replant new seeds, new beliefs, so you can thrive in your life. And so if you are at a place where you haven't been able to break through to that next level, maybe you're in a job, you're making 75,000 and you're like, I have not been able to hit that 6-figure mark, then you've probably hit a limiting belief that you don't even realize is there. So we're going to really dive in, and I'm going to give you some tools to help you unlock that next level for your money mindset. Take you from 100K mindset all the way up to $1 million mindset, because that's the goal. And I will say this, I'm going to put this out here. Some of what I might say today may trigger you, and that's okay. What I'd like you to do is just examine the trigger. Why did whatever it was that I said that made you feel defensive or get triggered? What was it about that comment that triggered you? Because you're going to learn so much about yourself in those triggers. It's going to be easy to be a lot of what I say, you might resonate with me, yes, yes, yes. But a lot of what I say, you might feel, I don't like that. It doesn't make me feel good. Well, that might be a goal, or it might be something that you want to examine further. And so just examine it from an objective standpoint. You don't have to put any meaning behind it, but just examine what comes up for you during this course. So yeah, I want to dive in and just kind of talk a little bit about my money journey and where I started and where I am now. So I grew up very poor, very, very poor. And my mom didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a contractor, and so he was self-employed. And my entire life growing up, I remember my parents always fighting about money. We never, there were Christmases that we didn't get gifts. I never got new clothes. Everything I wore were hand-me-downs. And so nothing really ever fit me right. I always felt kind of embarrassed to go out into social settings and to be around other people my age and kids my age, because I felt really embarrassed because I knew we were poor, and it was really difficult. And my dad worked really hard. He worked such long days and would come home exhausted and could barely make ends meet. And so from a very young age, my conditioning around money was a lot of scarcity, a lot of there isn't enough money to go around, like didn't have Christmas presents. Sometimes like I would remember my mom going to the grocery store, and she would ask to write a check for $5 over so she could get $5 back to take us to go get ice cream. And she'd be like, don't tell your dad, because like money was such an issue. Like they fought over everything. He would literally look at the receipts to see like how, like what we bought at the grocery store. And so like, and it just like, so money kind of had a dirty context for me. Like money was dishonest. Money was didn't feel good. And you had to work really, really hard to make even just a little bit of money. So I had all of this conditioning going in. So fast forward into like grown-up stage, I get my job in corporate after going through college. I, went through college and got a really good job. And I just remember like busting my ass every single day in my job, because like I was like determined that I was not going to ever be like the way I grew up. Like I was never going to be poor again. And so like I worked really, really hard, and I started like, that was the thing that was ingrained in me. If I had to work really, really hard or I'd never make any money. And so like in my corporate job, like I would be working 50, 60-hour weeks. And it got to a point where you just can't sustain that type of life, because it's not a life. Like that's just not living. And so I kind of got to a breaking point. I was like so unhappy, but I was like terrified of giving up that security of the money that I had built for myself. But at the end of the day, I had to kind of put aside like, okay, I've made a lot of money for myself in a corporate world. I can do the same for myself in an entrepreneurial type of thing. And so when I went into my business, like one of my main reasons for starting a business was so I didn't have to work so much. Like that was the biggest thing. It was like I wanted to have a life, and I didn't have a life, and I wanted to travel, and I wanted ultimate freedom. I wanted to be my own boss. And so this is where like the money mindset really kicked in for me, because I never really delved into what my money mindset was. I kind of was always operating from a survival mode. Like I had to work really hard, make all this money. So I never went back to that place of survival. And so once I started my business, I started making money pretty quickly. And then I hit a patch where I was not making any money. And I was like terrified. I'm like, what is going on? And like I would talk to my business coach, and like I ended up getting like a mindset mentor, and then I ended up buying and taking thousands of dollars of courses, money mindset courses specifically. And one of the things that came up for me in these courses was, well, obviously the belief of, I believed I had to work really, really hard. Like to make any type of money, you have to work really, really hard. So it was hard for me to step away from that like hustle mentality. And then the other thing that came up for me that I didn't even know was there was the remembrance of, my dad being self-employed and not being able to provide for his family, and like barely making ends meet, some months not making any money. And so what I realized was as I was now becoming an entrepreneur, I just had this ingrained in my mind, like as an entrepreneur, I'm going to barely make it. I'm going to barely get by. And so that was really like deeply ingrained into me. And so I had to work through those really, really big beliefs that were rooted into me and like intertwined into everything. And so it took me a good year and a half to work through those two big mindset things. And as I continue to go on in my business, like there are still times that I come up on these blocks and these things that come up for me. And I continue to dive deep, and I continue to find even more and more that it's rooted. So I say all this to say, money mindset is not a one and done. Like some people did not have a super traumatic upbringing like that. So maybe you don't have as many deep rooted, but I guarantee you have more than you think you do. And like, so really take time if you find that you have not been able to get past a certain place from a monetary standpoint when it comes to attracting money into your life. You can only attract what you're an energetic match to. And so if you are wanting to make six figures, you want to make 250,000 a year, but you're only making 50,000 right now, your bank account is sitting at a savings account of $1,000 and you're barely getting by, then that's where your mindset right now is. You're in a $50,000 mindset. Like you're not going to be able to pass that until you've done the work to figure out, why am I only at this level? What is it that's keeping me at this level? So your bank account is a direct reflection of where your money mindset is. And when my mindset teacher told me that, I did not like that very much. And I was like, my bank account does not represent me. And it doesn't represent you. It just represents your money mindset. And so, a lot of clients that I work with will make a lot of money in their business, and then they'll get really excited. And then I swear to God, it is so crazy. Like a week later, they'll have like an unexpected expense that comes up. And it's like for almost the exact same amount that they made over in their business and they planned. So it's like, but it all comes back to your mindset. And so if you have this mindset that money is easy come, easy go, as soon as I make it, it's going to like have to go to an expense. Again, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have an unexpected expense come up. So whatever you believe, you're attracting that into your life. So if you believe it to be true, it will be true for you. And so that's why it's so important, especially when it comes to money, to know, what do I believe about money? What do I believe to be true about money? So I want to go over the top 3 money mindset beliefs that most people struggle with. And I want to give you some tools to really start tackling this. So the first one, belief number 1, is money is scarce. So they view money from a scarcity perspective. Like there's not that much of it in the world, and it's really hard to get my piece of the pie of what's out there. So a couple of things that you can do to help you start up-leveling your money mindset when it comes to scarcity is to surround yourself with people who have a really positive view of money. And if you don't have that in your circle of friends and family, then start thinking about who you look up to. Like, are there authors or podcasters or people who are mentors or coaches in the industry that you really identify with? Start following them, start listening to them, start reading books about money. One of my favorite money mindset books that really, really helped me on my journey was You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. So good. Like, she just breaks it down in a way that's just so relatable for everybody. And the way she talks and like how she shares her experience, it's just, it's really powerful. So surround yourself with people who look at money from a positive standpoint. And like who you surround yourself with is like, that's who you become an average of. Exploring different income streams. So if you don't believe that money is abundant, start a side hustle, start an online business, start something on the side, and watch how much money is actually available out there. When you have a product or service that people want and need, they will buy. And you're going to watch the money just kind of start flowing in, because you'll start to see, wow, there's a lot more money available out there than I ever thought possible. And then the last is really work on adopting an abundance mindset. And there are a lot of different ways to do this. And I'll give you some of my favorite practices. And these are things I still do today. The first is practicing gratitude every day. So instead of focusing on the things you don't have and things you wish you had, focusing on all the good that you do have. Like, as you're making coffee, say out loud 10 things that you're grateful for. Like, wow, I'm so grateful that I have a coffee machine to make my coffee this morning. There are people in this world that don't have a coffee machine. Believe it or not, they exist. Like, I'm so grateful that I had a bed to sleep in last night. Like, there's so many people that wish they had that, and they don't. And so if you don't think you have anything to be grateful for, look deeper. You do. You do. And so start practicing gratitude in your life. The second is practice being generous. The rule of giving is, not only is it joyful to give, it is such an amazing practice to give, because what you give comes back to you tenfold. So when you try to hoard on to your money and be like, oh no, I got to hold on to it for me, then it becomes stale energy. But when you have money, like, and you see somebody on the side of the street, you don't know their circumstances. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know their circumstance. If they're asking and you see that they're in need, give them a $5 bill. Like, you don't know what that could do for them. And as much as you think you need it, they need it more. They're standing on the side of the street. And just watch that $5 multiply for you in return as it comes back. And you're going to feel really good about yourself being generous and giving to others. So practice generosity wherever you can. The other thing that is really powerful is shifting your negative thought patterns in the moment. Now, this does mean that you have to be aware of them when they come up. So set an intention that I will be aware of, negative thought patterns as they come up. And as soon as they come up, be like, yeah, we're not going to do that today. We're going to focus on maybe going back to gratitude or shifting that into a positive belief instead of a negative belief. But that does take you being present in the moment and like aware of when it happens. So being aware and shifting those negative beliefs is a very powerful practice. Avoid comparing yourself to other people. This is so damaging. When you compare yourself to others, be like, oh my God, I wish I had whatever all these people have. You're putting yourself in a state of lack and putting someone else on a pedestal above you. And that's just a very unhealthy practice. So instead of focusing on what everyone else has, and I know it's really hard to do with social media these days, but if you find that social media puts you in the state of comparison, it makes you feel depressed or makes you feel anxious or makes you feel less than, then stop, then take a break. Don't scroll. Like take yourself out of it and do something productive and go read a book instead of scrolling. And the last one is practicing affirmations. I didn't really understand how powerful affirmations were when I first started doing them. It just kind of sounded like, I'm saying this, but it's not even true. So why am I saying it? But here's what I want you to remember about affirmations and basically about everything I've just shared is what you feed your mind consistently grows and becomes your new thought patterns and belief systems. So when you're feeding your mind positive affirmations, especially when it comes to money, when you are consistent with it, you will start seeing that your reality will start shifting to align with this new programming that you're putting in, but you have to be consistent with it. So like look up some affirmations, pick your top 2 or 3 favorite and say them every single day in the morning, write them on. I used to write them on sticky notes and put them all over the house. Like I'd put them on the fridge, I'd put it on the mirror. I'd put it on the door as I'm walking out the door, like all over, just so I have like a memory, a reminder to be in this state of positivity when it came to money. So from a scarcity standpoint, if you're trying to shift your belief around scarcity, those are some of the big tips that I have for you. Belief number 2, and this goes really deep, and you might even not realize this one is a belief for you, but this was one that came up for me as I was digging, is I don't deserve to be wealthy. I don't deserve to make a lot of money. I'm not worthy of having the life I desire. I'm not worthy of, having prosperity and abundance. And as women, I feel like we do have a lot of self-esteem and worthiness issues that come up for us a lot. And so this could be one for you that you don't even realize is there. So working on ways to build your confidence, build your self-esteem, build your worthiness back up will help this belief, it'll give you so much benefit in a lot of areas in your life, but a sub benefit will be helping your money mindset around worthiness, that I do deserve to make a lot of money. I am worthy of having the life I desire. Give me a second. Positive affirmations really work for this one as well. Is I am worthy just as I am. I don't have to change for anyone. I am perfect as I am. My birthright is abundance. Like those are some of my favorites. The last one I wanted to talk about is, I've mentioned it earlier, but I have to work really, really hard to make money. And not even a lot of money. I just have to work really hard to make money. And what I want you to do with this one is I want you to look for evidence in the world around you and say, is this true for everyone? And I can tell you right now, it's not. I work maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, and I make more than I did in my corporate job, where I worked for 16 hours, 60 hours a week. And this was a hard one for me to get over, but I started to look in the world around me, and I look at like these CEOs of companies who are playing golf on the golf course, and making so much money. Like, there are so many wealthy people out there that barely work, but it's because they figured out the system. They delegate, they hire people that they trust to run their business. Like, I have a VA that works on my business for me, so I don't have to work as hard. So it's all about like looking at the world around you and say, is this belief actually true? Can I find evidence that this is not true for everyone? And if it's not true for everyone, then that means it must not be true for me either. And so it's really about finding what lights you up. What can you do that you can be passionate about that doesn't require you to work 8, 10, 12 hours a day? And so, yeah, those are the 3 big core beliefs. And these are the ones that the clients that I work with that come in have across the board. And so I wanted to share with you some tips if those are ones that come up for you, and just encourage you to start diving deep and exploring, like, what do I believe to be true about money? And where did it come from? Where did this stem from? There are a lot of meditations that you can do where you can kind of like do a meditation and it'll walk you back into like your childhood, and it'll take you back to what was the first moment you remember hearing or seeing anything about money, and what did that what form or what shape did that take for you? And for me, it was being in the grocery store with my mom as she was writing a check for $5 over so she could take us to get ice cream, and then telling us to not tell my dad. And so my first interaction with money is dishonest, money is dirty, money causes problems. And yeah, that was one of my core beliefs. And that's really not a good core belief when it comes to money, because it makes you resist it. So really explore. And then another modality or technique that is super, super helpful when it comes to reprogramming your belief system around money, it's called the emotional freedom technique, or EFT, or tapping. You tap on hot points. If you want to look on YouTube, just like type in EFT tapping and then mindset or money mindset, and it'll pull up a bunch of different ones from a lot of different people. That was one that's been really, really helpful, especially helping me overcome the belief around you have to work really, really hard to make money. So that one really helped me tap through and get through and break through that money belief. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share today. This is such a big one. Like, I could talk so much longer about this topic, but I don't want to overwhelm you. I want to give you some really tangible things to take away. And what I would love you to do is to take one of the tools that I gave you. Let me know, send me an email, send me a message, and let me know which tool you are going to be practicing and which money belief you want to break through, and let me know how that goes. I would love to help support you on that journey. So thanks so much for joining today. And yeah, day 3 tomorrow. Stay tuned. I'll send the replay out for you guys here probably in the morning, and then send you out the deets for our final day. Have such an amazing night, and I will talk to you tomorrow.